Okay, now let's see, the Mongols, the Yuan, 1279 to 1368, that sounds about right. And now, these are all kind of variable terms to match the history more than anything else. I know that Britannia-style games generally are variable, but I don't know if they're quite this way. So this is like 37 years, right? But here, we're looking at more like 100 years, or closer to 100. It's almost like the other games usually went with very large scale of time for the early periods and then went to smaller scale. Here they're just flexing time if and when it requires to try to just create a historical, hey, here's a period. Each turn is just a period. So it's a different view. I don't know how I feel about it. Okay. So this is kind of a boring turn. You have the Yuan on the board, and they can't produce any troops. They can position themselves to best survive a rebellion by the Ming, a 4-area rebellion. Now, I don't get any points, but I don't know that it's a weird condition because I can't tell if I want to conglomerate, which I could do, but then 4 big areas kind of automatically go over bigger areas, or stay spread out where the loyalty tests will determine things more. It may depend on the where. So like a central province like Hubei might be best left empty, because so many different provinces could cause that to fire off. So I'm going to try to optimize that. Almost certainly, though, things along the edges are going to be occupied, and things that are more centrally located and connected to a lot of territories probably are the places I want to be empty. And I think I want to be 1 unit per hex for the most part. One thing we're going to see here, the Ming come in with their revolt. They immediately get score off that, which largely is going to be, hey, you know, where did you show up? But also some luck in terms of your attacks. And then on turn 17, that's next turn, they start getting boats, which will allow us to go to Taiwan and to shift around a little bit more. Right then, what do? I do that figuring. One of the big factors, the Yuan don't have a population. I've already gone over that factor. I've never seen something like this in a Britannia-style game before, where one nation, not just one color, one nation controls the entire board. It makes sense, but... and then there's like one other nation coming in sort of over it. But the particulars of the situation in China, definitely it does make sense to represent things a little differently than in most of the other designs that I've seen. Okay, so let's see where our Ming revolts are going to be. And we'll use the 11 to 66 here because we got the whole board covered, I think. Hey, there are places that can't even get hit. These 0 spaces. Okay, so 64. Where the hell is that? Does that even exist? There's 60. Geez, I gotta have these numbers uncovered. I don't know if there is a 64. Which just means we re-roll. There will be 4 of these. There's a 66. I mean, it is really disconcerting how the numbers are positioned. Alright, well, I don't see a 64, I don't think. Or I think I don't see it. And my wife makes fun of me for that I don't think statement all the time. 11! Alright. So 11 is Qinghai. Gotta get these Uyghurs put away. Okay. The second one. 12. Okay. 51. There's 50, but that means nothing. Here are other 50s, which probably means there isn't a 51. Very, very disconcerting. I mean, why wouldn't there be a 51? You know, why have a 55, 56, but not a 51? I just don't know. '56, we know that exists. Oh, I put the leader down somewhere. We gotta find him. There he is. And one last one. 45 over here. Okay. But now we do loyalty tests in every province that's adjacent to one of these. And I think we only do one loyalty test even if they overlap, which is one reason why, you know, it's okay to have Hubei there, because it could get hit multiple times. So like this is only going to have to make one loyalty test. I think that's the case. I'm going to make sure of that and put my Uyghurs away. That is clearly how it's worded. Next, for each province containing loyal armies that is adjacent to a rebellion center, you roll a die to determine. The roll is equal to or lower than the original power factor, switches things over. Now, the Yuan, I can't read their number, but I can read it over there. It's a 5. So only on 6s will things remain. I'm not going to stick around and roll these all out in front of you. We should probably see a whole bunch of Ming on the board at the end of this. Complexity in remembering where the original places are. So what I'm doing is I flipped over the location after I've rolled all around it, and all the things it added. I could do it the other way, but this will help me be able to see, hey, which things have I checked, which things haven't I. Otherwise, I flip over one of the Yuan things that failed. That's the first failure so far. You can see where this is going. Our net result. Now we have a rebellion. Now this is a normal rebellion, which means we get 2 moves. We also get a leader. And after the 2 moves, we get to score normal points, 1.5 points. No special abilities, I think, for this. I gotta be careful because there are a lot of special cases here, but I don't see one noted in either of the sections that could contain it. When you have a lot of pieces to move in this game, it's a good idea to flip things over to indicate you've done them, because I'm going to be doing things like this where that unit's going to be there, I know it's going to be there, or it's going to go into here. But let's say I want to be there for some reason, I don't know why I would want to. I need to distinguish between the pieces I've moved and what I haven't, and make those decisions very clear. Not sure I did things as wisely as I could. I threw the leader in at the end rather than using him for movement, which was probably a mistake. We're giving up the extreme west of, the west of China, because, well, there's some things coming in next turn. We got the Turks coming in Kazakhstan, we've got the Tartars coming in Mongolia, and we've got the Qing coming in Russia. Dice, we won everywhere we fought. We took, I think, 1 loss, maybe 2, I don't know. And now we want to spread out, but we also want to kill as many as we can. If we succeed in killing all 4 of these, we get 5 extra points, which is huge. And we get 5 extra armies, which is important for resisting next turn. So that should be a pretty major goal. On the other hand, we do get points this turn. Always an issue to figure that out. We're set up to kill everything. We'll see. We're risking our Emperor because he can't produce points on his own. In these other places, we've got 2 units attacking each of the Yuan pieces. Turn Sun Tzu. We failed in one of these 2-to-1 attacks, and I'm just like, oh boy, that's worth 5 victory points and 5 pieces. This is late in the game. I don't know how many other blue. We're going to get the Japanese, but this is probably the most important. That's probably the most important single die roll, is to get those points and those pieces to kill the Yuan before something else happens. I don't know, because they probably have nowhere to hide, and we could have wiped them out anyway. Yeah, it was probably a waste, because I come in before these other nations. And now here again, we got the, I don't know what we have. They can't get the spelling right on anything, on these Qing. So I think the Qing are down here and the Chang are up here. That's why we've been playing, because it just makes more sense. But yeah, I probably wasted this sucker just to get my points ahead of time. Oh well. A completely ridiculous move, because I can use these extra pieces to shift over into provinces that I wouldn't be able to occupy as easily. But honestly, I have this extra population capacity, which probably means it's not that big a deal. And I also probably want to fall back behind the wall, get that advantage. We got a total of 16.5 points for that. The Yuan are gone. I'll have to bag them. That means we can record whatever they made, which was the 35 points in their turn of entry, and that is it. Still a big amount of points, but what are these 10 kingdoms? Why are they still here? Bet you we failed over here too then. Nope. Yep. What's this shit? Tobacco. Or ash. Alright, and that puts us to turn 17. Definitely a mistake, I think. Definitely, I think. I'm a loser. Okay. And we'll be starting on the Ming next turn. So we got the big 3 armies coming in. There's still one left. And the Ming have to try to figure out what they want to do to defend themselves. Because, not this turn, but after next turn, they're worth another pile of points. But the problem is, they've got Tartars and Turks, not a big deal, and a huge invasion. This is the Manchurians, which are 20 units, I think. But this turn, they're small. Turn 18, they're very large, but I get a lot of points from them. So I probably want to figure out how to get into kind of a defensible enough position. I thought the invasion was this turn, but I misread it. So this turn, there's only 4 coming from Russia. I might actually be able to score a pretty good amount of points on turn 18 in that case, because the Ming go before everyone else. Okay. It's a fairly defensible position. I didn't stretch all the way to Tibet, but I've got, the mountainous terrain here to protect against Kazakhstan, which is the Turks. There aren't a lot of them. And all along the wall, stretching up into here, hey, try to slow down the Manchu a little bit, although they're ching, quing, whatever here. And I actually have boats next, this turn actually. So I could get to Taiwan. I don't want to do that yet. I want to present the strongest force I can. And I think I'll be able to get my maximum size out of this position and still be holding some defensible terrain. But the big thing is being maximum size and having a lot of empty terrain I can move into to grab victory points. The Turks and Tartars get a lot of points. Actually, there are these 3 points for each plain, 1.5 for each highlands. Ideally, I would be going after blue, but if I can wipe out the Turks, it's worth 2 extra points. So I'm going after their position with some hopes. We might see some chits played here. I'm not sure. Mainly because the reason I'm not sure is we've got the communists here. I probably want to benefit them, but maybe the benefit for the communists who really territory-wise only get like 1 point per territory. Over here we've got the nationalists who are probably similar. Yeah. Nationalists don't look like a big point gainer. So this might be the biggest point gainers we have coming ahead. Now we're going to look at some of these others. So foreign concessions are worth 2 each. And they don't look that big. Germans are a little more valuable. Probably smaller than the French. No, about the same size. So that's not bad. And then let's look at the Turks. The Taiping are not very valuable, although they like to wipe out other things. Russians are definitely not very valuable. They're wanting foreign concession, and the nationalists not all that valuable. So I may be spending some chits on the Turks to defend themselves here. Use the less valuable +1 chit, and we see the Tartars manage to get kind of lucky in Tibet, not guaranteed. I am going to spend perhaps the more valuable let's fight the whole battle over again here. The Tartars won even bigger this time. So there go the Turks. Wiped out 2 victory points, 2 extra pieces. Yeah, those pieces. Unfortunately, I can't play them both because I don't have room for them both on the board. That Manchurian expansion fails. We tried to push into Jilin with. We had only 4 units total, so 3 went into there, 1 retreated back. To make sure that I stay on the board, because I mean the whole point to this is to get me further in. Yes, I'm gonna have this big invasion, but this wall looks nasty if that stays. Now it's not gonna stay as potent after the points are gained by the what is it, Tang? No, Ming. Let's find them. Where are they? There they are. Point-wise for the turn, what do we got? Well, the Tartars pulled in 2 points. The Turks were finished off at a big 0. And that's pretty much the only impact, point-wise, this turn. And so turn 18 is the big Qing attack, which, coming from Russia, I can sweep directly into Inner Mongolia, but also come through here. And that's really about it, because I'm not allowed to go into these areas at all if that's not where I start. We start turn 18 here, and you know, I've got this sort of false choice, right? Immediately after move, I get points. Do I want those points? And I'll never get any more points in the game from the Ming. Or do I want to prevent, you know, other players from moving forward? And, you know, I mean, it's clear I want the points, right? I don't care who the other people are. And as it stands right now, the other people are the Tartars, the Qing, no purple, coming in. And hey, that's fine. These guys are not really my opposition, so I just want to rack up points. But I think it's almost, I don't think there's any real thought in this. It feels like, geez, I should be burning my brain trying to figure out which is more valuable. But I don't think that there's ever a condition where you don't take points, unless it's a matter of, oh, if I take those points, I will be throwing my country away and it's worth a lot more later. And you kind of have to know that it's worth a lot more later. I've seen things, like the Welsh or whatever, score some extra points in Britannia and maybe overstretch themselves. And worse than that, maybe they don't score the points. Here, it's the points directly come. In a lot of cases in the Britannia, in probably in this game as well, you have situations where you score at the end of the turn. Well, end of turn isn't an issue. Here, it's the issue of this is a victory point turn, but I get my scoring early. So I don't have to prevent the Qing from knocking me out or from taking a lot of my territory. I can bank my points early. That's not the case with the Tartars. It looks to me like they get bigger score, per area, but they get it after the whole turn, which is what's usual. This is just sort of a, hey, you want to bank a lot of points? That's great. Anyway, I got one unit coming in. There's two that I'm not getting because counter mix limits. So we get a bell ringer in points here. 21 points for the Ming. That pushes them up to 47.5 total for them. You can see the Yuan had gotten 35 before, so this is the best we've seen. We had a 30 for the Qin. The Ming have become the biggest point getter so far in the game. And had to go through a lot of effort. You can say, well, wait, how did you get so far south? Boats. We have boats starting last turn, so we were able to ship a lot of pieces that were along coastal provinces to begin with. 1, 2, on 2 locations, including Taiwan down here, which means we survive. And that's going to push us as far as the Tartars. Tartars get so many points off of planes. We're hoping that the Qing don't get to destroy us here, but we're putting more baskets for eggs by grabbing this. And even Tibet with the, hey, that's only worth, I think, 1.5, but these are worth 3 points each. We don't want to pass on getting an additional province there. It's a 3-turn invasion for the Qing, and they are able to do pass-throughs at 1-to-1. I don't know how much they need that. They're going to have so many pieces. I am not even sure that they can get everybody on the board. So they're only allowed to move 2 spaces. 3, 6, 9. They've got 20 pieces, right? That's as far as they get there. They're not allowed to pass through mountains for free. So that puts me to 11. I only have 20 pieces, or I have 20 pieces. There's no connection up here. I don't think I can get everybody on the board. I don't have boats yet. I don't get them till next turn. I actually, overpopulation isn't an issue until the end of the turn. So yeah. So I just push everything as far forward as I possibly can and continue from there. Stupid me. Round 1 of their invasion looks something like this, with this huge set of attacks. I put 2 guys in here, their leader here, so that they could get all their pieces here. And, they're just overpopulated to all hell, but it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. More complicated than most of the invasions that we've seen, because in some cases, for example here, there's kind of an iffy, hey, did I cross the wall? Well, no, because I could go 1, 2. Yeah. And I was able to launch a unit into each of these to avoid the wall that way. So there's a lot of ways to circumvent the defensive structure of the wall, at least according to my interpretation. Now, if you did it otherwise, well, maybe there would be other ways that you could get around it. I don't know. But it just doesn't make sense to me. This one, definitely the wall has to be in place for, though, right? I believe so. I don't believe I sent anything from Mongolia. I could have, right? I mean, I could have arranged it so that every single space was so overwhelmed the wall's just ignored. In general, the big invasions ignore the terrain. Well, the Yuan did. I'm not sure, but if you completely negate the wall, what does it do? Well, what happens here where I'm playing these weird little games with it? There's another way to interpret the rules, which is if you crossed a wall during your attack, during your movement, you're affected by the wall on any attacks you make, which means we'd be affected by the wall defense all the way down here. Either one I can accept. The rules don't really make it absolutely clear. Gansu province did not fall. That's important because it means I can't bag the Tartars. I could attack them in Tibet, but that may not be my highest incentive. I can't possibly bag the Ming because they're sitting on Taiwan and I can't reach that. So I'm not going to get any bonus reinforcements. That was the second move of the turn. Now I guess I'm just going to optimize my points as best as I can and try to kill as many Ming as I can because they're in the lead. We move to turn 19, which is a blank turn. Okay, so what happened? Well, you can see the Qing did not do the kind of massive destruction that we've been seeing in the more recent invasions. They kind of crapped out a little bit with a fair amount of Ming, some even clustering up where they can maybe spread out a little and take some stuff. Sorry, I'm burr down there. There wasn't really any single location that was particularly vital to attack. That would have validated using a +1 attack marker. Maybe back when this was there, just because we could have maybe taken the Tartars out because of that. But instead, we went for as much territory as we could. There's some holes. There's some places where the Ming survived. Point-wise, well, as we saw, the Ming got 21. The Tartars got 4.5. That's their total for the turn. And the Qing only pulled in 13 for what they're holding. And that's the total for green for the turn. Now, granted, we have another, we have a turn where we're sort of the major power, but the Ming are going to be able to turn the tides on that by using the attack advantage to knock out a lot of our production capability. Plus, they do have another army coming. Only one? No, two. Two armies coming because we're at the 2.5 space and we have this. So we should be able to do a lot of damage to the Qing there and kind of leave China in a divided position before things start changing. Mission to turn 19. The Ming want to make sure that they're not destroyed. They want to be capable of maybe doing damage to the Taiping, who may wipe out the Qing entirely. So in order to do that, I'm keeping units stacked in 2s and just beating up on some Qing because, hey, what the hell? And just trying to go for that sort of conservative growth. I have a ton of pieces. If I had room to grow them all, I would jump all over the place. But I'm not big enough to wipe out the Qing. Wow, that would be an interesting thing because that might deprive the Taiping of even getting a turn. weird shit happens in this game, or weird shit appears to be able to happen in this game. And the rules don't really make it clear whether it can or not. Remember though, the Ming are worth a lot of points and a lot of troops. So the Qing probably want to wipe them out anyway if they can figure out a way to do so. It's one of these kind of weird things. They actually come in after the Qing, but they actually moved before them. Every now and then there's a disruption like that. I don't think there's anything as big as what has appeared here. I think that's a typo, so I'm playing it as such. Oh, that kind of gets in my way. Because I was hoping the Qing would be able to get themselves in a position where they could kind of set it up so that Tibet could wipe out these Tartars who go after. The Tartars could actually wipe out the Tibetans, which is more of a problem. So the Tibetans end up taking Tibet, but we have a problem. We have the Tartars. They just moved them. I'm a little torn by my choice of moves. So they did not get units. They're a half point away. If they move in here, they'll get that half point, but they actually could be destroyed by the Qing if they do that. Whereas if they sit here, they can't be, but maybe Tibet can wipe them out. Or we got a bunch of shit coming in here. I don't think anything's going to come in from that Kazakhstan area, except maybe the Brits. Jesus, where do they come in from? Pacific Ocean. Okay, that's where I would expect, because they had coastal connections, but they were in here, by this point. So they could conceivably have shifted their strength into that direction. But no. Okay. And the French should be safe. So if I leave this space here, I'll get another unit, but not before the Tibetans get a chance to try to wipe me out. I don't know if they will. They don't want to lose Tibet. One unit going against two. That's not a good trade-off. So I probably... Now, players will sometimes make a deal here. So, Tartars and Tibet may both say, look, red and green, we're in last place here. We're fighting for last. Let's not attack each other. If this were a normal Britannia game, sure. But there's victory points for wiping someone out and extra armies. And that changes the dynamic of the game significantly. Where peace isn't really a free thing. It's giving up an opportunity that's kind of nice. It's not just, hey, I could be in your territory, and your territory, would give me some extra points maybe, or I'd be able to reproduce there safely or whatever. Nope. Here, there are advantages to wiping someone out that are not present in most. But I think I want to stay there. And that puts me to the Qing. And we're going to take our shot at wiping out the entirety of the Ming at this point. Consolidating all our forces. We did move here for the chance to take out the Tartars. Although we actually have it here. Let's, I don't know. Let's stay here for the extra production. Actually played our chit halfway through the battle here to get a +1. Would be better to do it at the beginning, but as it started to look like we weren't going to win that one, yeah. But we failed, and it was almost assured that we would fail. But, we succeeded in most of them. We wiped out all but one of the Ming pieces, but not quite good enough. Is that a big deal? No, we got another turn to do it, and the Ming aren't going to grow. So, because they'll only go up one, that won't get them an extra piece. So, we'll get another shot at them from here from Guangdong. So, we got a chance at it, but here's what we don't get. We don't get a chance to spread out with those pieces. Those pieces will be reinforcement pieces on locations after we take out Taiwan, and we'll have to commit forces there, so we can't push everything to the border if that's what we wanted to do or whatever. It's hard to tell what we want to do because the Taiping hit us, out of nowhere, basically. No points, I think, this turn either. No, we got them on turn 18. And that is turn. And let me go see to my dinner being made. I'm a little worried here. I'm worried that maybe I skipped turn 19. Because, let's see, we had the Queen come down, right? And attack everything. And then... well, we had them first come in. I don't know. Yeah, I'm really not sure, because what we got here is this turn 19. Turn 20 is when the two Tibetans showed up. And I'm sitting on turn 20 there. And I feel like I may have missed a turn. Or skipped a turn. Screw it. I'm going to push us to turn 21, which is when everything comes in. It's very easy for me to make this mistake with this track the way it is. I treat it like the game record track, even though it doesn't have a counter moving along on it. And I may have erred, but at least we move a segment towards the finale. Honestly, geez, I'm looking at the Ming and I'm almost certain that I scored. Let me see. Let me see when was the last turn we got scored, because didn't we have something? Okay, no, we got a turn 18 here. That was the victory point turn. That's all we have. Jesus. But nobody wiped anybody out. I just don't think that there were two turns in between. Now, obviously, I could look through the video and see. One of the things that I can say is, well, it's not that big a difference, in terms of Tibet, as to, hey, does it exist or not? Did it come in a turn early or not? And it would make a fair amount of difference if this is actually turn 20, in terms of getting enough force together. Well, however, I was definitely counting on this last turn because I knew the reserves were coming in and everything. And so here's the thing. Yeah, it's like did I have two turns of relative peace for the Qing to establish themselves, or only one? And I don't fucking know the answer. God damn it. Been playing, more regularly, but I can't do that. Work is really hell right now. So over the weekend, even, I was kind of struggling with getting plays in. But I mean, I can barely remember playing this. I know I must have yesterday. I think I pumped out a couple of turns. What does a couple of turns mean? Yeah, I'm not sure. Likely these two, but... And again, I could look back on the video and work my way through that. I wouldn't have that available otherwise, and I really am lazy, which you may have guessed about, where I don't really care enough, I don't know. All right, I'm just going to go with what I have and deal with it, because the Tibetans are on the board, and maybe the Qing get fucked a little bit, but I don't really care. So I think we're starting with the Ming. It's very difficult with this huge long list, but they feel like they're the earliest thing that I'm looking at. So we have the Qing do Queen, whatever. Now I'm a little bit more convinced that it's Qing, because somebody told me, hey, no, the Q didn't mean anything. Unlike all the other transliterations. That one was for no fucking reason. Well, whatever. So now, before I was a little more certain that it existed for a reason. Now I'm like, what? They have spread out into the anti-rebellion or revolution or whatever status or positioning, which is a big deal because there's only one rebellion from the Taiping. The Taiping are not positioned to grab everything. So by spreading out, I'm probably only going to lose one Qing piece, except we're trying to kill the Ming, grab our 5 points. Plus we'll be getting points at this turn before the Taiping come in, which is, well, also before the British come in. Ooh, I was a little screwed up in terms of my positioning because this one is so central. I had to be down here. I fixed that. So we got a success, but the big deal about this is not just the 5 points, and now I'm going to get some more, but the 5 extra units, which now makes the possible makes the Taiping Rebellion more interesting. Again, because this is only covering a few little locations, we check to make sure each location can be rolled. Hainan cannot, Taiwan cannot. So that means we have 5 different die roll possibilities, and we'll just do it that way when it comes time. But I do get some more points. I already recorded the 5, which is stupid because I am getting another, and yeah, I know. I just woke up, so I don't operate 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more, so we get to 12 for the turn. If I missed a turn there, and this gave me the time to wipe out the Ming and get that extra point, or not the, no, these are the, I don't know who's the who. Were these Ming? These were Ming. These are Manchurians, which is what I'm used to calling them, but probably, that might even be like a racial slight or something. I don't know. You never know anymore. Things that were commonly said may be problematic. But an extra turn after getting those 5 pieces was what I was counting on doing. And I mean, green's not doing very well, so it's what I was hoping to do, and I felt like I failed last night, or whenever I last played. And now I'm like, geez, if I missed out and brought the Tibetans in on turn 19, what am I doing? Okay, so I got my scoring for turn 21, but I think other people get theirs as well. And I think these guys do not get it here. Do they? This does not get any. You got to be so careful with this game because it's so weird. So the Tartars will get it at the end of the turn after the Taiping Rebellion. The problematic rules of the foreign concessions. If at any point during a turn, including after a battle, well, gosh, it would be pretty fucking obvious after a battle. You're stuck there at that point. These are the only ones in a Chinese province. Those armies force a foreign concession on the Chinese. More can be made by an army. Now, an army is that whole nation sometimes in the versage. It's not necessarily a piece, so leave that alone as a clue towards this. The foreign concession is a trade treaty. Place it on the board. Okay, the way this is worded, I feel like I can do something along the lines of 1, 2, and drop foreign concessions in both. The reality is maybe not. I mean, the intention, the specification of including after a battle instead of including mid-move, the other question is there anything special about movement here? We don't have a leader. I don't think we get any special capabilities for that. So when we take a look at the British points, during any game turn, each foreign concession gives them 2, but they're really interested in ending up in Guangdong and Zhejiang, which are both difficult to end up in, moving through two areas. So I'm going to end up only getting one foreign concession with two of my armies. The other foreign concession is more interesting, and I may want to consider whether or not. So this turn the Russians are coming in, the French and Germans. I bet you the French and Germans are both coming in. Well, the French are coming in Vietnam. The Germans are coming in the Pacific. They all have boats, so coastal territory is problematic. And the Russians, who indeed come in after the Taiping are very shortly. The Russians come in Russia, which is not shocking at all. Okay, and now we look at these. So Guangxi is worth something to the French. The Germans are interested in Liaoning and Shandong. Well, there's Shandong. Liaoning's up here. So lots of interesting things to take into your consideration. The biggest is probably I want to hurt purple. Do these have boats? Jesus, I don't know. It doesn't look like. Hey, the French don't have boats. The Germans don't have boats. What the fuck? How are they in the Pacific Ocean? Yeah, so they're invading, but not mobile the way that the British are. Very interesting. Whew, that means if I want to hurt Russia, doing something like this seems of some value, and we'll start placing some of these. And why do we want to hurt Russia? Well, that's an interesting question, because they're purple and we're blue, and purple is our competition. So we remember right now that we placed 4 of these. That gets us 8 points for the British, and the others come at the end of the turn. Is this turn 21? Yeah. Okay. And now comes the Taiping Revolt. Push the button because I've got to do something about food, and I think I've been playing long enough that I have to worry about it. Now comes the Taiping Revolt against the Ming. It's not going to be that impressive. It's a double move, I think. I think all revolts are. Sometimes hard to find this kind of information when you need it, especially when they throw a bunch of examples and pictures in the middle of the rule book for no real good reason. Okay, maybe the rules aren't any good. Yeah, they get a double move. Okay. Taiping Rebellion, which is triggered by British intervention, and it's kind of cool that there's some Brits near them. It would be quite possible that they could be far, far away from any intervening forces. It's important because they get points for destroying British forces and also for destroying Qing. However, I'm sorry, Qing, whatever. Oh, we get another rebellion next turn as well. We get points for areas as well this turn. So we may not want to hurt ourselves against the Brits. And that's kind of an interesting situation. Because the Brits hit us on like a 3 and we hit them on a 6. We really have issues. So I think I'm going to go like this and hope for the best in terms of getting points for the turn. In our net effect, we got 1 point for killing Qing, which is written down, and we'll score the other points on the board. But you know, we're not really doing much damage right now. We'd love to kill the Brits because our competition is blue. That brings us to the Russians, though, who are better at killing Brits. I get 3 units in Russia. I get points for foreign concessions. Let me think. I have not looked entirely at foreign concessions. I know walking through areas, I decided But what I didn't decide was something else. There we go. In a Chinese province. Oh, are these Chinese? Mongolia's not Chinese. Tibet's not Chinese. That's important. This border, I believe, counts as China. So I did manage to get these suckers. I can't just walk through Mongolia or through Inner Mongolia. Therefore, oh, I hope these things don't say each Chinese plane or something like that. That would make life really painful. So what do the Russians get on turn 21? Well, we get points for planes. We don't have anything special. We don't have boats. We can do this and hope for the best. We'll be rolling for sixes just like the Brits, or we could throw another unit in. I think we want to take, no matter what, we get this point. But we get another point if we hold on to that. How valuable is that versus killing the Brit? More definite. Oh. Hold on. I got 2 to 1 here. I leave a guy here. Let's say I bring these guys in. Okay. They walk through here. I can walk to there. That's slightly more valuable to me because I'm now able to interject my concessions further south. Could have been a painful set of die rolls because we're rolling for sixes, so you know I got it on the second time I rolled, and the Brits can't withdraw because they don't have anywhere to run to. I think, though I'm not sure, the Brits shouldn't be able to generate troops out of like let's say they destroy the Qing or something along that line. And certainly if they destroy the Russians, they shouldn't be able to get troops out of it. So let's take a look. And in fact, nobody should be able to, but maybe some of the others do. The conquering country receives a number. The foreign powers cannot be conquered in this game. Yeah, but I think they can conquer someone and create something kind of like the Sepoy troops, but that are fully British. Or it might be that we were successful enough we can send occupying forces. However you want to argue it. I have a problem in that I gotta make sure my dinner doesn't burn. Okay, so the French come in Vietnam, which is down here. I don't know if people come in from Laos and Myanmar and all that. I get that feeling there are places we don't actually use. We're interested in Guangxi, which is easy for us to sit on, but we can't just run there. And what else? Other planes. Well, again, we could attack the French. We don't get any real points for anything, though. So we could go 1, or we could attack the British. 2, and grab ourselves 4 points worth of concessions. And I think that's kind of the best we can do. Getting ourselves an extra point off Guangxi. That actually slows down a concession. That's the problem. And that's where, hey, am I doing a good deal by doing this? Or would I be better off doing this and getting an extra point and then continuing to press on? You know, I think the British fucked up. And I am going, Jesus. Yeah, but I got lots of turns to do this. Now I'm gonna grab. It's really a hard call. I'm gonna grab 4 points of concessions. I could have grabbed 6, and then I would not get the extra point for occupying Guangxi. And this is the only turn I get that. The problem with that, this is the only turn thing, is that it convinces me that it's a good deal because it must be. But I don't think it is. So I'm taking the 6 points, unlike the Brits. And it's really hard for me to fucking think because I got my food burning. but I want to get this turn done. That puts me on the Germans, who I think are in the Pacific. Yeah, and they want Liaoning and Shandong, which are, there are Russians in Liaoning. What does that matter? Well, it's worth 2 points instead of 1 for a plane, but I get 2 points for each concession. So 2-4, I grab these concessions. Is there another opening for me? Not a great one. I don't have just an automatic freebie where I can move through the way I did here. So I can do 2-4 here. Or I'm sorry, 1-2, whatever. So I'm at 6 for the Germans, which is not optimal, but whatever. And that leaves me with one more. The Japanese are coming up, and they should be similar. What do they have? They have 2 in Russia, 1 in the Pacific. What the hell? They're coming in from Russia, man. And they're interested in Taiwan particularly. They just keep getting troops. They do not give victory. Oh yeah, they give victory points for Taiwan and other places. So I gotta think if I want to launch an attack here. Strangely enough, the Japanese also do not have boats, even though they absolutely had the capability to shift things around, at least during certain periods. Is that World War II capability? Well, yes, they had the capability to move places like Taiwan. And honestly, I don't know if I want to land on Taiwan because I don't have boats. Only this unit can do it. It has a fair chance of taking it, but it's not going to be able to create concessions. Do I create concessions? I don't care about them. What the hell? What's up with that shit? I don't know, but I don't have a lot of fucking time. There's foreign powers. I am a foreign power. Where's concessions? God damn it. There we go. I am not interested in concessions, which means if I want to dedicate someone to Taiwan, it's worth 2 points now and 2 points later. I honestly don't know. And I have no boats. So it's hard for me to beat my way through those Russians. Holy shit. At least I get points for Highland areas. I'm going to do something very non-Japanese and try to persist my units there. I'm going to make my attack against the Qing, though. Kind of sucks ass. I failed to take them out, or I took them out, but I failed to remain there. And my other forces, I'll score their points. I think we're done with the turn. I'll come back for scoring, and I'll talk to you about that after checking on my food again, which was already burning. The food that I'm burning is Chinese in nature, so that's kind of cool. It's inspired by Asian styles. It's nothing traditional. It's a peanut sauce-based chicken fry. Okay, so I scored my points, and I would like to be able to analyze them more, but I got to get my wife for food. So let's go through what I can here. So the Taiping pulled in a total of 3 points. Definitely not a big score here. I had some, thoughts that, wow, Taiping is going to be a big deal. But it's not done. It keeps rolling as revolts. You'll see next turn it has another revolt. And where are we here? The Russians scored 4 for... Does that make sense? I don't think I fucking scored all my Russian points. What the hell? Oh no, they only added 1 concession, so 2 points for the concession up here that the Japanese are in now, and 2 points for territory. So they netted a total of 4 points only, which got them to 7. Now, if the British, who are blue and who are their challengers, hadn't slipped up there, and screwed them around, maybe the Russians would be scoring some more points. But, you know, being one of the leading players is one of your problems. Green. Okay, green, their Tibetans are worth 4 just for being here. And the remainder of the Qing, well, the Qing got their points before everybody came on, and they netted a total of 12 points for the turn somehow. I'm not sure who wiped them out. I mean, we lost this, and there may have been another battle, but there wasn't a lot. Oh, the Taiping got rid of 1 stack. So that gets green a total of 16 points for the turn, which is the rich point total for the turn. Well, no, it's not. I lied. Which is a rich point total for the turn, but, you know, whatever. Okay, blue, who's in the lead here, we think they got 12 points for the British. Just all those concessions and then these high-value locations where we got, I guess, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah. Just a whole bunch of points. Yes, we took, you know, we got beat up by the Russians. Great. You know, we did score a lot of points. Now, the British, I believe, leave the game soon. Turn 23, which is the Interwar Years, which seems a little weird because they didn't really pull out. You know, the Japanese had to force them out, but it was very easy to do so, so you don't want to represent that militarily, I guess. I hate half points in this game, so I mean, some of it just, this looks like approximately the same size as this, and it just bothers me, and then making the additions, I would much rather they double all the points and score them as full points. And it's just a matter of, and it's only because of these sheets. If you don't use these sheets, if you just write it on normal paper, it's really not that big a deal, but having to constrain at least my writing into things like this is problematic. And then the red player got a big point score here this time with 21 points. So the Tartars are 4.5, nothing too exciting over there, although they're a rich territory. Like, this is the, oh look, some tiny little part, you know, some tiny little card that never looks like it has much importance on the board is constantly scoring me points. You know, it's kind of like the Scots in Britannia, where they score a lot more than, say, the Caledonians do, and you're kind of like, why? I don't understand. The French and Germans, though, 8 and 9 each. The French, yeah, you know, like I said, we got a little bit more points for that. This may cut into our overall points. That's the thing that I'm not going to know, and that's what I wanted to analyze a little bit better, but maybe we're better off not. I'm not going to have another turn where I care about piece location at all, which is why Guangxi seemed important to me. But honestly, I think it's a matter of, as long as I don't have to fight for it, I might as well take the additional territories. And the Germans just pushing in through here with 3 areas. Again, good point values here, even if I didn't get one of my, you know, bonus point locations. And I'm sure the Germans pull out sometime soon, 23 as well. So that's kind of sweet. That's going to put us into turn 22. There'll be another Taiping Rebellion. And more Japanese military investment in China. Into turn 22, and this is kind of interesting. So it's very possible that Qing could have been gone already. And the Taiping rely on them. They can't destroy them, or they won't have a base for their continual revolts that come early on. Now, I'm curious how the nationalists show up. I think, yeah, they're uprisings, and the same with the communists, where they just show up in empty areas, which, you know, the standard of Britannia-style games is to say, well, that's pretty much unpopulated. There's no such thing in China. So the representation is always a little suspect, you know. I mean, population growth being related to... This game especially highlights it with these kind of there's chaos there with the 10 kingdoms and 6 dynasties and all that stuff. But whatever. Uh, where they're actually showing something sort of military going on there. Those don't grow low, so they're kind of weird. Anyway, what were we getting to? Tibet and the Tartars play it conservative and are just banking, trying to get some points at the end of the game. But now we're on the Qing, and they cannot create any more points. 2 turns from now, they disappear, I guess, before their movement. Whatever. That's, again, not absolutely clarified in the system. Here's what we can do. We have the capacity to wipe out maybe the Brits or the Germans. Probably the French would be too hard right now. The Russians almost certainly are. Unfortunately, the Russians, might be our biggest target, but honestly, I think the Brits are. So that's what we're going to focus on. We got an extra piece coming, and if we get lucky, the Brits are worth... The Brits are worth nothing. Screw it. Shit. Foreign powers aren't worth shit. That sucks. So, I mean, we could do harm to them, but we can't get points from them. Is there anything we could get points from? Maybe we could weaken the Chinese, the Japanese. I don't believe we're allowed to wipe out the Taiping because, well, we could. They have a rebellion. There's special rules on that, so I have to look that shit up, of course, and try to find. They can be conquered in 21. Yeah, so that would be appealing. This is actually wrong. Turn 21 is when they first rebel. They can be conquered in turn 22 and rebel again. There aren't a lot of them. They would be an appealing choice because I would get a bunch more pieces that I could then direct against others. Succeeded in that, getting 3 points. We also killed some Brits. We got 3 points for the kill and 3 extra pieces, which is huge because we can still keep being a player with the central legitimate Chinese government, I guess. Scored some more points collecting things with the concessions, and again, here I am interpreting these rules, what those concessions mean, and trying to understand in relation to other Britannia-style games, notably Maharaja, as to, I think it's the factories there, as to, hey, how do these work? Because you get victory points. Well, so the victory points for them, the way they're written, is on any turn each foreign concession. Now, it's not really spelled out whether you have to occupy the foreign concessions, in which case they just become additional points for occupying territory, or you have to create new ones. Given the big pile of them, I'm assuming it's the create new ones process, and also, from other games. But again, the rules are not clear on that. There may be some errata, but I think this is what was intended. There's another Taiping Revolt, and my going after the Taiping and getting the points from them and the extra troops put me at risk of losing both these territories. But instead, all I lost was what's over there, because solitary unit. But again, it's 3 units stacked together, so it gives them something. And wow, we hate the British. We will probably continue our attacks on the British and try to bag them. So I screwed up. I'm not moving the Russians there. Russians went in as far as Shaanxi, which gets them another 2 victory points. I'm going to use the other points to attack the Japanese here because I disappear next turn. Won't be scoring any more points. So wiping out a single Japanese unit seems like a viable choice. The Taiping succeeded in wiping out the Brits. The French and the Germans, it's going to be similar, grabbing some more points for concessions. And what we're seeing is this really broad-based concessions. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. The spheres of influence were fairly small regions where commercial activity was allowed. But the armies did proceed deeper into China and may have established moving those spheres of influence from the coastal regions. And given the number of concessions there are, I'm assuming this is what it's meant to represent. Something different from those foreign trade zones, essentially, that were created into, hey, look, we've penetrated this market because our troops went through there. And, we forced sort of free trade into these areas. But anyway, we grabbed another one here. We failed here because, again, it's our last turn with the French, and I bet with the Germans as well. It's causing incredibly ahistorical behavior on the Japanese side for whatever you might think of those concessions moving in. Germans pulled in a fair amount of points, actually. I think 6 points, grabbing way out of here into Gansu province and also along the coastal area. But now the Japanese, because these Russians here, have swung down into Inner Mongolia completely. Their move was really through North Korea. And it's a little odd for them not to be coming from Korea, to tell you the truth. Yes, they went into Hiliaoshan, but they made their movement from both these areas. They had a port here, and they also had conquered Korea eventually. Not yet. But yeah. So anyway, their penetration here is being foiled because there's Russians sitting up there, so they moved into Inner Mongolia, and then they're also here in the middle of China. And I don't know what that's supposed to express. There certainly were not Japanese armies able to make it deep into Inner Mongolia where they could strike into Xinjiang. There were not units down here until late in the war, with China, not World War II in general. And that will put us to the end of the turn. There are no new points showing up here. So let's see who's up first. Probably Tibet. It's kind of hard to figure out because things are jumbled. It may not be somebody. Well, it will be somebody on the top of the line. And I'm looking at the others. The Tartars come after. Okay. And the Taiping also do. For points for the turn, well, the British and Japanese were worth 10 points for blue. Looks like the French were worth... Why are the Germans here? Why did the Germans not generate points? I should have 6 points on them, and I should not have 6 points on the Japanese. It's really hard to do the eraser without pinning the map in. So I screwed that up. That's going to be 4 points. This is going to be 8. Let me try to remember to change that. It's just so easy to fuck things up. Over here, the Russians pulled in a total of 2 points. They're the only ones who scored anything this turn. And the Qing got 3 for killing the Taiping. And that pushes us into 23. And I probably moved the damn marker twice or something. I don't know. Or no, not twice. I don't know what the hell happened. The one time. Who knows? Hey, we're in, the World War I and interwar era. World War I, not much is happening. The Germans historically got knocked out of China at this point. It doesn't look likely with them embedded out here in Gansu province for some reason. I don't know if they withdraw, though. They may. Yeah, they withdraw this turn, as do the French, so they're not going to generate anything more. But that's kind of one of the points is a lot of these countries just vaporize and disappear at this point. So far, we've run through Tibet and the Tartars, who are both playing conservatively, waiting because they score on the end at the end of the game. And then we go to the Qing, and they're going to try to wipe out some Japanese. They're not worth any points. They disappear next turn during the before the big Japanese invasion. So all we can do is kind of hurt blue and or purple. As I'm being stupid here. I should try to wipe out both. The Taiping are easier to wipe out, so we'll go after them. I'm not going to get production next turn. Let's kill some French, too, if we can. Just, you know, go bonsai, because... because there's absolutely nothing... Yeah, the only thing I can do is present some sort of shield against some other powers, but like possible Japanese expansion. So we'll just try to kill everything we can. Things going terribly wrong. We had to make sure to attack the French last, because we don't really mind giving points to red, but purple and blue were ahead. And that would be important, because if all of our units were wiped out, we'd be giving points to the French. And troops too, for that matter. But instead, we were successful actually against both the Japanese and against the Taiping, and that wipes out the Taiping, I believe. So we get 3 points for that and 3 replacement units, which we can actually take, and we'll just stack them 3 to a space, thereby preventing ourselves. This is the real issue. We're worth 5 points, and we don't want to give that to anyone. Red would have been the okay choice out of anyone. Foreign Devil's gone. Somehow the Qing dynasty manages to survive into this through this period, which is pretty cool, actually. However, it is going to disappear on its own into the nationalists and communists, and that essentially leaves green with no more point getters. Luckily, they've used up all their counters. The only foreign devils left are the Japanese, and they have a little bit further invasion happening. The list continues. Not the Japanese there. They're over in Gansu now, where the Germans used to be. And we could probably get rid of all of these stupid foreign concessions. I don't think they serve any purpose for anyone anymore. I think they're just markers to indicate that points aren't going to get there. And they are kind of distracting, so we'll take care of that. But our next are the nationalists and... okay, so this is not the Chinese Civil War yet. That's turn 24. I want to see what these uprisings rules are, because they might be mixed. Turn 24 is mixed. I think the other is just a normal uprising. And strangely enough, there's no rules for uprising here. However, I think there is here. They get 2 turns each. I find it a little strange that they're not combined. I'm just going to make sure that that doesn't say anything here. Wow, each nationalist province gets a reinforcement next turn. And we get points for whacking stuff. 8 empty provinces on move, led by Shang. Let's take a look at what the communists are going to have for their uprising. 7 empty provinces, led by Mao. They only get points for killing Japanese, though, which are harder to kill. So obviously the nationalists probably aren't going to go after them, even though purple would love to kill blue. Optimal move for the nationalists is to spring up here, destroy the Qing, and then on the second move, spread out some maybe, because we get additional units. However, the communists could beat us up, so we got to be a little careful about that. And then push into Tibet. So our goal is to get the 5 points for the Qing and the 2 points for Tibet, using Shang to get us there. Taking the Tartars out, probably too hard to do. The fact that the Japanese are here in Gansu, yeah, it's just, we would have to launch an attack here first and then into here. It's just going to be tough. but we are going to have more pieces. So here's the thing. I've got, I think, too many pieces. So I've got 4 pieces here, 4 pieces there. I've got a +1 bonus. If I strip off 2 of these pieces and put them down here, I could push even better into Tibet. So I want Shang back here to help me move up here. I can use the bonus die roll to get into Tibet, and then try to get some additional pieces to push me forward. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So we'll go here. I'm going to drop this over here. This may not be optimal, but the Nationalists don't get a lot of points at the end of the game. So I think trying to wipe out the remaining factions is the best I can do. I'll put 3 here and 3 here. And I've got the edge everywhere. Yeah. Here it's basically even. I don't like that, but what can I do? Ah, shit. I mean, if I get lucky, it's great, but yeah, I think I'm behind blue, so let's go for it. So we defeated the Qing. That's going to get us 5 points, plus another 3.5 for kills. Our gambit, though, in Tibet did not work, and that's problematic. But before anything else, we have the points officially, but you know, there's no reason to record them right now. We get 5 extra armies for having wiped out the Qing. Now, the Japanese aren't worth any points nor any destruction. No extra armies for destroying them. I'm not going to be able to destroy the Tartars. Let's look at the communists and think about them. They uprise in empty provinces, so that's not going to be an issue for me. I'll let them fight the Japanese. However, having a lot of provinces of some value for us producing extra troops. And by the way, even the communists may kind of want the nationalists to generate more reinforcements because they make a loyalty check, and the odds are the forces are going to become communist rather than nationalist. So it doesn't really do me a whole lot of good to wipe out nationalists. Granted, I could take 10 victory points away from them, but I actually don't get any victory points for killing nationalists, and at the end of the game I just get territorial victory points. So there's no real reason for the communists to go fight the nationalists. Interesting, the Nationalist Reinforcements are stated as each nationalist province gets 1 reinforcement at the start, not each nationalist province in China. Oh shit. I forgot I have extra units. Yeah, so I was launching this attack here, but I've got more pieces to place. Crap. I already moved. I was coming out of these 2 provinces. Those are the only places I could come out of. The Japanese are going to be able to beat up on me if I walk in their way. Oh, they don't really care about points for me, except wiping me out. So I don't know where to go. I guess we'll just pile on down south. I could bring an extra army here into Tibet. I think that's a good idea. What else? Let's shift down there. Should we have continuity? Yeah, that looks more problematic than anything else. So, yeah, so we're now out in Mongolia, whatever, and we got an attack in Tibet. I'm using 2 pieces with my ruler to see if I can wipe out Tibet. And so these hit, since I have a ruler on 5 and 6, and green only hits on a 5, we killed them off. And we've taken Tibet out as well. The big turn for the Nationalists, they scored 11 points total. Whatever survives, survives, but it's pretty iffy. This is mainly from the destructions. So now we're on the Communists, and the Communists would love to destroy Japanese armies, but we're not anything special. So we can't hit the Japanese here. We actually can't hit them, because they're only hit on a 6 and there's a -2 to the die roll. And the game very specifically makes it clear that 6 isn't the limit. You might need an 8 to hit something, and that's just life. I've got both my special tokens left for red, which kind of sucks. Oh, green's out of the game. They're done. Only 1 turn left. But so I think I've got to be in 7 different provinces. I think it says 7 in empty provinces. That's not clear. Jesus. I thought it was 7 empty provinces. Yeah, see, this doesn't specify. It may just be I could pile them all in the same province to begin with and start the uprising in the same place. It is not clear about that. And, maybe this is clear in some of these examples. Here we got a rebellion. No, that's not quite it. I don't think we have an example of an uprising. And there's no rules on uprisings in the placement rules, which feels like a horrible, horrible mistake, even though it's kind of covered in the card or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I think the way it's worded, it says uprising, 7 in empty provinces on move. I could probably throw them all in one province, which is important because if I can only get 2, well, it also says in provinces, not in China. Did the Nationalists say in China? No, they just said 8 in empty province. Who knows? So yeah, I think, I don't know, is province defined? Is there a difference between province and space? These are foreign areas. Yeah, we have North and South China. We don't have China. Each province is a clear color and is given the clear color and is, I guess, a different color. I don't think it's clear spaces. And is given a unique identification number ranging from 00, so Inner Mongolia is a province. Yeah. So I think I'm allowed to have the Communist and Nationalist Chinese show up initially in weird places too, anywhere on the map basically. The South China and North China is actually specified, and those are specific provinces that are listed. And I don't think, like I've been playing it, that Heilongjiang is not part of North China, for example. Let's see. South of the Great Wall. Yeah. And I haven't been looking it up, but yeah, they make this statement, the part of China north of the Yangtze and south of China is generally considered to be North Province, China. What? And then they list them all, and I'm not going to go through them and try to make sure that, the locations that they list are indeed. So I don't see Jiangxing as being part of North China. Of course, it might be spelled differently. No, Jiangsu is. Yeah. And I don't think Qinghai is. So this is interesting. North of the Yangtze and south of the Great Wall is generally. The part south of the Yangtze is generally. This is annoying. Now, I wouldn't expect Tibet, but I would expect that they would have this kind of weird dark line that separates Tibet from China between any provinces that are not part of China. For that matter, I don't see Gansu as part of North China. All very interesting. None of this matters to the communists, though. They can show up at any province, which might include... No, it does not include foreign areas, because they don't have an identification number. Which is good. I would hate for my communist Chinese to show up in, Russia or something, although, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with them. I want to kill Japanese, and that's actually on defense too. I wonder. Yeah, this is on both sides. I got to be careful. I probably scored some things that were only on some players. Like the Qing. Did the Qing have only on their attack? They don't want to kill anyone. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I would like to protect my my Tartars, and that might mean battling the nationalists down there. I don't get points for it, but it might be my best move. It is a chances thing. Fighting Chang in the mountains. At best, if I send Mao in there, I'm fighting at... I need 6s to hit, and they need 5s and 6s. So I may be better off leaving the Tartars to fend for themselves. I definitely want to wipe this thing out if I can. How much do I commit to the Japanese? Well, this is interesting. I need 6s. That goes to 5s and 6s, but they're about twice as good. I'm going to commit 5 units to that. What about these others? Gosh. I'll commit them to trying to wipe this out quickly, and then I'll spread out from there. After the communist turn, I wiped out 2 Japanese armies. Now they get another move, but that's 6 points I've got banked. But the nationalists killed one of my units, so they're going to get a ½ point off me. Now I think my goal is to spread out into provinces. So we'll go here. Mao is not worth anything. We don't have speedy movement. We don't look like we have boats. We have a dude. Everybody's got dudes. Yeah, we don't have boats, so we're not going anywhere exciting. So I think this is it, and we'll score those points. I want to kind of emphasize how ridiculous, from a historical point of view, the 20th century is looking. Yeah, we have the communist power bases. Well, actually, here and here. These are not historical ones, but I'm okay with that, with the nationalists centered here and here. Up in Mongolia, which is a little weird, but okay, and in Tibet. But the Japanese sitting cut off in Gansu. That is really hard to justify in any sense of the word. There's no way supplies are getting there. This is not some kind of ancient partial population or something. This is not some sort of revolt. This is the Japanese army stuck there, and it's been there for 20 years. That's not good. It just... The game probably shouldn't have tried... Well, it would have taken a lot more to represent the Japanese invasion properly. And honestly, I feel like all the foreign power invasions are missing something, which is you probably need to keep a connection to the coast. You probably need something like a supply line. And there's just nothing in the game that rectifies that. And in a sense, it's kind of not, the way the game works, where you move and grab these foreign concessions or whatever deeper and deeper into China. It almost directly opposes what the history was, where the foreign concessions were really created in spheres of influence around specific cities where trade was. And you might convince me that, military intervention and expansion of those spheres went deeper than just the coastal area. I mean, you certainly can convince me of that. But you're going to have a hard time convincing me that, Western China was ever really penetrable from the Pacific, and there's no real. Hey, there might be some capability from India, but the Himalayas are quite an obstacle to any kind of operations going through there. So yeah, I'm kind of not very convinced of anything. And what are all these? Pakistan? What the hell? There's places on the map that just have no reason to exist, except they felt they had to they had to fill them in. It's like every location has to be filled into the game, whether it's useful or not, which is a little why. I guess it's cool if you want to expand the game and try to bring it. Put other stuff in it or something. But yeah, it is not modeling anything believable. I'm trying to create some fantasy situation where there's like, even if Gansu somehow became a puppet government of the Japanese, it couldn't supply that Japanese army. That army would no longer be able to be the effective force that it would be deployed. And honestly, as long as you're cut off from your coastal supply sources, I would say that's the case. And the problem with it is that historical operations went into central areas of China that were not right in the inland, not this deep, during, maybe this period here in the reprisals and such not, and established those deeper connections and possessions without there being a large army to provide them with supply. And so I just feel like there has to be something much more detailed to handle this portion of it. And I would rather, if you want to express this portion, certainly a game like Warlords, China in Disarray is kind of cool for that. Of course, the plotted movement and everything makes it a little different kind of game. And it's not like it's a terrifically more detailed game. It's a different type of flavor. It's not that simple. Hey, I could just make my decisions and try to score my points each turn or whatever. Last turn of the game, the Japanese are going to try to score enough points to beat out the Nationalists, whatever. We'll see if the Communists can catch up to that. Pretty sure Green can't. Pretty sure the Communists actually can't. They're not doing all that well, but they had a big score back here with the French and Germans. That ended up a big turn, and they're going to get a fair amount of points here. So when we add it all up, we'll just see. In some ways, I find the running total more helpful than a per turn total, but for analyzing the game, I want that information. The running total is helpful for trying to win the game, and I don't have that going. It's a question of what, I could keep both. This way I'll be surprised at the end too, which is kind of nice. So the Tartars went very conservative, pushing into Xinjiang so that they don't lose that 3 points. They probably should have gone less conservative, but the fact that I've got the Communists over here ended up, and they went there to help protect the Tartars. So that ended up kind of skewing things. I'm probably not able to take Tibet, and if I do, that would open me up to possible Japanese threats. But with Chiang there, It's just not going to happen. And the big thing is I don't want to lose these guys points, and they are attractive. They're worth 2 victory points and 2 extra units. But now, we're on the Japanese turn. Now, we're not on the Chinese Civil War yet. That comes after this. The Japanese, and I wanted to mention this. I noticed on the card, they've got this foreign, this is the symbol for the foreign concessions. And it is somewhat, the other countries that have this are foreign and can do stuff with the concessions. The Japanese, I had to check, don't even create concessions, much less scoring points for them. But my feeling was just like, why would you put that there? Well, it's to indicate that they're foreign, but they don't have most of the, they have one of the factors of the foreign, which is the military capabilities. On turn 24, I just get points after my move, and then I'm done. Of course, the Chinese have to knock me out, right? Nope. I get removed after my turn. So all I'm trying to do is score points. I could score additional points by destroying a nation, but I'm not going to be able to get here with enough force, I don't think. And the communists, well, no, the communists and nationalists are worth no points. So the only thing I'd be doing is trying to deprive them of points. Hey, I go to Taiwan because that's worth 2, and everything else I'm just going to be spreading out into places. And this totally doesn't, show what's going on in the Japanese occupation. 8 points, and because the first turn early on when Japanese got points, they didn't get many at all. They've only got 1.5. They got a total of 9.5 for the Japanese. I don't know if that seems right, but that's what I got written, and it looks right. And then we just cleaned them up, and they're gone. And now we handle the Chinese Civil War. And I just, compare this again. Obviously, the game's not meant to represent this whole section of it in any detail. It is a Britannia-style game, but think about it in comparison to like the detail that Britannia gives to the Norman invasion, or where it speeds up the game significantly. Now it is sped up here; it's only 18 years, but it doesn't do it in enough detail to give any real feeling of, oh look, the Japanese are sweeping in and conquering or anything like that. And there's kind of for me there's the feeling of, well, gosh, what was the point of that? Why did we extend this far if we're not going to show that? Well, we have the revolution, or the Civil War, so let's see what that works out like. But I don't have much hope. The rules aren't nicely, clear in any sense. One of the problems with the game. So one of the things is when you look here, and this is sort of this is the placement section, Chinese Civil War. At the start of turn 24, each province gets a free reinforcement army. Well, I should have done that already, but nobody attacked. Then they talk about some stuff. And then at the start of the communists' move, each province containing a nationalist army rolls for loyalty, except for wherever Chiang Kai-shek is, and whatever. And then they become communists. Okay. And it's not like a rebellion. It doesn't cause collateral, but each space does check with the same thing. Now, over here, we have the Chinese Civil War under the rebellions, invasions, and uprisings, which this actually is none of, even though it's under uprisings. It's a special move for the Chinese Civil War. Okay. In turn 24, initially, the nationalist and communist province gets a free reinforcement army. Well, okay. I'd say that aligns well enough with what we saw before. My thinking was, since we get those reinforcements usually at the beginning of a player's turn, that's how I would read it if it hadn't been for the other part, but okay. Next, the nationalists move and resolve battles. However, after the nationalists move, each province checks its loyalty. Okay, a province needs a 5 or higher to stay loyal. After that, the communists move and fight. Then the nationalists place reinforcements, move and fight again. Then the communists place reinforcements, move and fight again. Why would they get reinforcements? The only reason that they would get reinforcements, because they don't have a population, is if they wipe someone else out. Who else can they wipe out? Well, that's the Tartars at this point, because the Japanese are gone. That's kind of a shame. You don't see this kind of trying to throw the Japanese back. I wouldn't expect it to fully succeed. I do expect there to be Japanese who get pulled out, but there was some success in scrabbling back at least a little bit of land, and I would say that some of the successes did cause some adherence to each of the causes, but whatever. All right, I'm going to place a bunch of reinforcement units. It's one per province now. Yeah, I think it's in the actual province it comes from. I mentioned in another game, I think it was an 18XX game, they were worried I would spill my cup, or expecting, and maybe half hoping. Hey, you got your wishes. I did so here, luckily not much damage. Just this. And a bit of a mess for my dice, but it is going to slow me down a little bit. Teach me a lesson? Well, I mean, as I mentioned in the video comments on that one, I work on my laptop with this cup, or with a cup next to it. It spills sometimes, If I fuck up a game that cost me 40, 60 bucks, that's terrible. Doesn't happen very often. Usually it's recoverable. Like here I gotta, mopped most of it up real fast. And yes, I have damaged some games that way. But, I mean, compared to the cost of replacing a laptop, replacing the occasional game. I've only had one laptop die that way, and it was because I didn't really realize and unplug it quickly enough. And it didn't even die, it's just the keyboard died. But then over the years it degenerated, and it's the only computer I've had go dead on me completely. Which is weird, because like my wife has her laptops die on her every few years. And I still have, that's an old Dell that works, but it's not capable of handling like the internet now. And I keep thinking about throwing a Linux on it. Part is, I think I have to change one of my socks. It's gotten so wet. And yeah, I don't know if these are actually qualifying as socks anymore, but I bought them to wear around the house, and they wore out fairly quickly compared to other boot socks I've gotten much, much cheaper. And all right, I don't know. I'm gonna have trouble writing on this. May have to grab another piece of paper for that. Where are we? Overall, that was not a bad spill, right? And the time that was mentioned was an 18XX, where all the cards were laminated and everything, so it wouldn't have done much there either. But it is a danger. That's life. What's life? Okay, so we gotta place pieces. I'm trying to remember where the hell I am. Communists were easy. I put a bunch of them down. The nationalists are a harder job. In the end, I want to be able, each plane is worth one, so Taiwan is worth more than most places I could hide, but a lot of the other hiding places are a lot tougher for me to go into. And remember, I still have a bunch of communist pieces left. I'm out of nationalist. I have one to place on the board. I kind of think I want to try to score the points for wiping this shit out. Is that possible? There's 3 of these. I have no more chits left. Red has... Blue didn't use one of its chits. What is that? The reroll? No, the +1. And red has not used either of its chits. So that's kind of a factor here in terms of, And when you give me things that are kind of hold counters, that I have to make a decision of when the best time in the game to use them, the one time I get to use them and they don't get replenished in any sense. Yeah, that's a hard decision for me, and I'm liable to just put it in my butt. Is even if I attack the communists, they get a revolt, they're gonna show up all over the fucking place, and that's really where the problem is. And that's what's leaving me with, I've got the military advantage if I attack, though, and I kind of want to do that at least here. I'm going to have trouble getting enough pieces to wipe that shit out, but then I can get some reinforcements. So yeah, I'm going to go for this. I'm only sending 2 against 3 there. I'll send the 1-to-1 attack here, and I'm not sure what else to do. This is what I decided on. I'm taking a crapshoot at Mao. Trying to wipe these guys out and just trying to reduce the strength of the communists. With the Tartars up here being wiped out, I am going to burn Sun Yat-sen and redo that battle. That's too important for me to lose. I may want to play the +1 on this second roll of it, because even though I've got a numerical advantage, it's still a danger. It forces the Nationalists to withdraw back into Gansu, and we'll continue the other attacks. Of themselves, the communists don't care about killing the Nationalists, so although they killed a few of those, they didn't get any points off of it. But the Nationalists are going to be getting 4 points for killing communists. Now we handle the loyalty checks on the remaining 3 nationalist areas. I had accidentally taken Chiang off the map. I think he would have been in Gansu, but I'm not sure. Anyway, he did not die, so he shouldn't be off the map. And now the communists not as strong as they would have been. They probably do want to destroy the Nationalists, because otherwise the Nationalists are going to pick them off. And in the end, my communists want to be spread out all over the place. So trying to do a destruction looks like a good choice. It'll also help protect the Tartars. That didn't work too well. I wasn't willing to launch and throw a piece away in Gansu, which could have pinned so that I destroy the Nationalists. And instead, that means Chiang has a big stack of units, 4 units to play with. Now each gets an additional move, and that additional move, I'm going to take my crack again at trying to knock out the Tartars. I screwed up here. I had 2 points. Put this to 3.5. It should be actually 5.5. I think I counted this and halved it. So I get 5.5 points, but I also get reinforcements. Problem is, I'm already overstacked, which means the communists are not going to be able to get through to here. If I put one there, I kill one. I don't know. And we'll make that a little harder to handle, right? Because that means 2 of these count against there, and I don't think the communists can wipe me out. Oh, I'm not overstacked. We've got fucking Chiang here. Okay, we'll do this. I don't know how legitimate it is. I might be able to move another one of these in there by putting one of the reinforcements in, but I'm not sure. I have wiped out the Tartars, so that's a fair amount of points I just took away from Red. Not that Red was in the competition. And now they can't really wipe out Purple, so they can't even act as a spoiler. All I'm going to do is spread my remaining units and get a point each for provinces. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the end of the game. And what, 1.5 at the end of the game more for the Nationalists. Amazing of all amazing. My math all works out, which is to say the one line matches the other in every case. I had one where I hadn't transferred a total for a country into place, and that kind of confused me for a moment, but I would not expect that. Usually I screw something up, I can't read my writing in one direction or another. It worked out fine here. So let's take a look at, well, red. Red is not doing too well. They had a total of 96 and a half. Green was in even worse condition, 75 and a half. Purple at 117 and a half. Right there, I'm kind of feeling like, well, you know, green didn't do too well. I'm not sure why. It might be a case where other players have to be friendly to green and let them get more points. Let's see. We'll take a look and see if there's anything I really want to talk about as in terms of, wow, this totally screwed up. So you can see a couple of their early nations, the 16 kingdoms, who cares about, but their earlier nations just didn't produce much, as though they were the targets for no great reason. And you know, that could be just somebody gets screwed in the game, and or it could be that it's unbalanced against them. It's hard to tell. But blue, 153 and a half. Now, remember, purple jumped out to that early lead. I don't know if anybody really crushed them all that much throughout the game. Blue hunted them. And certainly there was a period where everybody thought they wanted to go after them, but I don't know that they did all that effective a job. Again, it doesn't feel like they were hammered that much. What it feels like is blue was hard to stop. There was a point where people were like even between purple and blue. Again, if you had a running total or a better grasp of the game dynamics, you might know that. The thing that I didn't know is, hey, how much are the nationalists and communists going to make? You know, because if the nationalists score a lot of points, that could be a big bonus for purple. And that's one of the problems. Sometimes your big-looking countries, the countries you expect, you know, to be potent in the game, aren't all that impressive. I'm thinking about like the Normans in Britannia, who, you know, often the game hinges on them and the points that they can produce, and they're not bad, but they're in the 20 to 20, well, they're in the 26 point or so range, I think, when they come out well. And, you know, Rome, which kicks off the game to begin with, is in the around 40 point range, and there's not much you can do about Rome. You know, they're going to get those points, period. The Normans, not so guaranteed what they're going to get, but they're probably going to get about 20 points at least. But again, you know, and they look approximately equal with this major invasion. It doesn't work out that way. So in this, let's start looking at things. First of all, we got a lot of points off the Ming. Why? Jeez. I mean, the Qing didn't wipe them out, is what it came down to. They didn't succeed, and is that their fault? Well, let's look for the Qing. They're down here. They produced 31 points over a period of time. You know, so that's the biggest point total for blue. And that came late after blue was already showing pretty well with the Tang at 24 and a half. The Wei did really well. They were the ones who survived, and then even after they kind of got out of their point creating phase in the game, they destroyed some nations from their size and scored some extra points that way. And of course, that also takes points away from the people they were able to destroy. So the fact that they got out of the Three Kingdoms period, maybe with less points total, but being a killer, was actually really valuable. If we look at red had absolutely nothing that scored well. What should have? I don't know. You know, the Song, for example, you expect them to be pretty big. They came out at 18 and a half. But again, without playing it a few times, you don't know. You know, is that something I did in my play that more experienced players, you know, who've seen it before, would know how to react to? It's one of the problems with these Britannia games, is that unlike unlike, say, the coin games, which are playing in a similar sort of realm. Fairly, not hugely long, fairly simple rules, a little more complicated than these, with a lot of dynamics of that multiplayer type thing. Well, those games are almost always really knife edge close. The game system is designed so that you can knock other players down. Of course, they don't have the same kind of parameters restricting them, like, well, we really want this nation to be this size for this period and then replace it with another. I'm just comparing it to other games that are in that kind of multiplayer situation. The other thing is, this is scripted. There's an expectation of what's going to come in it, so it's not like you can't just gang up on somebody and say, oh, they're doing well. You don't know if they're doing well until you've played it a few times. Now, when Britannia was the only game of its nature on the block, it was pretty easy to come to it and say, well, I've played a lot of Britannia. I kind of know how to deal with these things. Is this similar? Are all the other Britannia games, style games, similar, that like with enough experience maybe you could get to the point where they're balanced games? I don't know. Maybe. This one doesn't feel it to me. Let's go to purple and take a quick look. Nationalist pulled in 17.5. The big points there were the yuan. They just got them all in one turn. That feels like it's almost a required pre-programmed amount of points that they're just going to get. I mean, sure, there's some luck involved or whatever, but it's not like you're going to be able to tinker with your play to change that, because they show up, they get points, they go away, boom. That's kind of boring. There are a lot of nations that can end up that way because, and this is where the balancing comes, is, oh, look, there's somebody's nation, let's go hunt that down because we know they're ahead. But you know what? When we looked at the beginning of the game, we were saying purple's in the lead. Well, purple ended up 40 points behind, 35 points behind. That big jump, that wasn't enough. It looked like they were creating good points when we look across the board. But then all of blue's points are kind of backloaded, which means first time you play, blue has a significant advantage. If that isn't some quirk of how I played it. We look through here, again, the Qing made some good points, but that's it for green. Green shit kind of crapped out other than them. It's nice that they're backloaded, but maybe they got that many points because people kind of let them. You do have to remember, though, they didn't, like, the Ming did not just disappear. What was it? Is there something that's supposed to destroy the Ming? Was there like I felt like things like the Wei and the Ming maybe lasted too long. The Wei definitely long outlasted their victory point expectation period. The Ming go out to turn 18 here on the chart, but that doesn't mean they should last that long. And that's actually, and wow, they got a lot of points out there. They're a rebellion against the Yuan. The Qing are the ones who face them. Which are not the Qin, they're not the Kang. No doubt. I don't know where the Qing are. They're green. Maybe. So they show up on turn 18. The Ming score their points right after they're moved, and then they vaporize, right? Basically. They stayed around a little longer, but they didn't generate any points. So yeah, I think the Ming scored about what they're supposed to. So I'm trying to figure out, where did blue steal points? The British got a decent amount of points, I think. But again, those foreign countries, at least the way I played them, they can score pretty big. And you'll look, Green has none of them. Of course, they have the Qing. And purple only has the Russians, which were not able to do all that well because the Brits went up here. That was definitely a factor for purple. Was the Brits went probably in a 5-point swing. The Brits stopped the Russians from being able to advance without boats. Well, that was not the Tuju, the Tang. The Tang are 24.5 points. That looks big. No. How the hell they got that many? I'm not sure. They must have been huge. Yeah, they were pretty big for a little while, and it looks like they're just in there. Is there anybody who wiped out the Tang who didn't come? I don't see anyone unless it's the Song. And the Song kind of crapped out. And I mean, this is the kind of thing that you start looking at. So the Song come in on turn 13. That is really after the Tang are creating points. So that shouldn't really affect the Tang's point creation. And we look at these, the Tang they can't exist and get points on turn 13. So that was not the issue here. I don't know what could have gotten in the way of the Tang that didn't. My suspicion, but I gotta tell you, I have this about Britannia, and I know that it is unbalanced, but I also know that people had very different views how it was unbalanced, so different play styles could unbalance it in different ways. This feels more unbalanced. This feels harder to cope with, but I could be missing something important that could have been stopped, like the thing that I always push out in Britannia, which is the Danish invasion. It can be stopped cold, or for whatever reason, Hispania, which I believe is just totally broken after the number of times I've played it. I've played it 4 or 5 times at least, where I believe the Visigoths are completely unable to achieve what they did historically. They're rated for what they did historically, and they just can't do it. But maybe I'm just missing something huge in that. Anyway, I didn't get the answer, and not really answer. I didn't get the inspiration that I was hoping from this. Like, I had it early on, but somehow, like all my inspirations, it just dies out. So I really doubt that I'm gonna try to tinker with this and or with invasions and try to create something that represents that population and military as 2 separate factors, that I really do think is the right way to handle this kind of game. Now, I don't mind in the pure Britannia style game until we get to the last couple turns where I think the game just went so far off the rails. But why did it go off the rails? Well, is it that the history went off the rails, with the Japanese? Certainly the game allows you to do stuff that's stupid, or, is it more that you just can't represent that kind of more modern situation in it? Or was the history going off the rails in a lot of the scenarios because everybody's kind of untethered and not trying to get specific locations that match what they historically were in? Not necessarily what they historically desired, by the way, and that's problematic to me. Right? But in this game, the looseness of the association of most of these things, where they're happy to be anywhere in China or on the map for that matter, that means you don't get the same locale-based groupings. And does that make sense? Does that not? I don't know. I don't know enough about the history. I know enough about World War II and the pre-war period to be able to say, wow, the Japanese really don't belong here without any supply line back to the coast. opposed, and without one even being possible because there's like forces in between them. That is just unacceptable to me. But there might have been things that are just as unacceptable to someone who's a student of ancient Chinese history, who would say, yeah, there's, no way that whoever it was came from Vietnam would have worked their way up here and created a little kingdom up there. I don't know about that. You're talking about migrations and hundreds of years and all kind of stuff like that. You can probably do some hand-wavy argument. You can't do one to say that there's a Japanese army sitting out there in Gansu province for no reason except that they want to go hunt down these Tartars. Because that's it. All right, I'm sending this up. I'll try to do a review, not tonight, tomorrow.